Football is back, and BetMGM is inviting new customers to join the huddle and enjoy the action like never before. Sign up today using bonus code CHAMPION, and your first wager is risk-free up to $1,000. Visit BetMGM.com for terms and conditions. 21 years of age or older to wager. Virginia only. New customer offer. All promotions are subject to qualification and eligibility requirements. Rewards issued as non-withdrawable free bets or site credit. Free bets expire 7 days from issuance. Please gamble responsibly. Gambling problem? Call 1-888-532-3500.
Welcome to CoPlay Media, a look inside the world of video games, anime, and the Blerd community. And now, here are your hosts, Diers and Demo.
And welcome to CoPlay. I'm just playing, guys. I'm just playing. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Get that man a Heineken.
I'm gonna get no more Coronas for me. I'm just playing. I'm not dying, guys. I'm not dying. But we here today. We got DJ Two-Tone from Shaolin Jazz.
Yeah.
We got my boy here, Demo.
Yes, sir.
We got me here, D. And it's just another day here, man, at CoPlay Media, man.
Yeah.
It's a lovely day, too.
It's a lovely day. I promise y'all I'm not going to die.
All right, man. At least got that corona going around.
Let this episode get out first. Yeah.
You know black people don't get coronavirus, right? We just catch the symptoms. We just don't really...
I thought it was African.
All right, there's a difference.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. If you mixed... it's over. There's a chance.
Wow, man.
I'm just kidding. I'm just playing.
Oh, yeah. No, we all
But, hey, just talking about the whole coronavirus thing, just because it's on my mind, like, how do you guys feel about it? Like, are y'all worried, man?
I'm not really worried because I don't feel like enough people have died yet. Like, it's bad. Don't get me wrong. It's bad.
How many people you need to die?
But I feel like it's overblown. You know what I'm saying?
Overblown?
Like, yeah, at this point.
I kind of in the middle of that, too. Yeah, I think it's definitely something you got to alert people more, but it's more so for the sake of the people who we know are going to be more at risk, that being elderly folks, people with weak immune systems. But for the most part, from this compared to like Ebola or something. Ebola, I never got the impression it was like the flu.
Yeah,
I just thought like you get it and you might, your insides melt. And
cholera, all that stuff, way worse.
Yeah, whereas this is kind of, make it sound like it's just, you'll get the flu, basically.
Pretty much.
And people are recovering. Like, don't get me wrong.
It's not the end all.
Recovering.
It's not the end all. Not at all. Not at all.
So,
it's something we got to go through.
Just get your antioxidants in, stay, wash. Clean.
Eat your vitamin C tablets too.
Yeah.
1,000 milligrams.
1,000 milligrams.
Get you 1,000.
The energy. The emergency.
Yeah. Oh yeah. That's clutch.
I love doing those. Yeah. I had that on the way over here, man.
Nice.
But it's hard for me to go into the concept of Shaolin Jazz.
From the coronavirus?
From coronavirus. There's no way to segue into
deadly,
that.
Son. It's deadly. Nah.
DJ Two-Turn, we heard you were also sick. How sick are you?
Sick with these turntables.
Super sick with these turntables.
Tell us about it, man.
Yeah, explain the concept of your art, because I've seen it and I'm a huge fan and I want to explain it, but I feel as if you should,
I'll gladly. Because So Shaolin Jazz, to begin with, is more of it's our brand, and under it we have a variety of different things that we do, a variety of different engagements, creative content that we develop, and being able to get to the point where I could even just simply say that took years, because in our first year of doing anything, I guess creating, what would become Shaolin Jazz, it started just simply as a mixtape. That's all it really was. No other ideas behind it in terms of doing the brand and doing these events. It really just started with my business partner, Gerald Watson, a.k.a. G Money.
G-Money.
So he and I have worked together for a number of years, probably dating back to like 2003 or 4 when we first met.
That's what's up.
And we just kind of started connecting on like doing more art-based events. So he was already into doing some stuff with some visual artists. we kind of came together and started doing a monthly art series called Arts and Crafts back at, for anybody remembers the Common Share back in Adams Morgan back in the day. That was our, that's showing my age a little bit. We used to do monthly art exhibitions there. So we have different artists, whether they're doing acrylic to photography to mixed media stuff.
Nice.
And we worked with we did that actually about 5-6 years straight.
That's
So
amazing.
it's one of the longest running just kind of pop-up art exhibitions.
That's dope.
And worked with a lot of incredible artists, and some of who we did some more things with, people like Ania Khan, Udolphia, to Buck Herring, to some other artists. So fast forward, Gerald was working on this. This is kind of a one-off thing. He was doing this series called The Classics, and the classics were around highlighting different genres of music and doing at a lounge. It went down over to Lounge 3, and basically he would set up there and it would be more of an album cover exhibition. So he would get, from a DJ's collection, he would get about 50, 60 album covers and put them up on the wall, and that was like the exhibition.
Wow.
And behind that too, he would do some stuff online and kind of add to, just create content behind it. So he would, on his blog, maybe also interview someone from that genre who may have worked at a record label or something like that.
Right.
So he did stuff like hip hop, reggae, funk, rock. And I would usually do either like a compilation mix or something to help kind of promote it or go along with it.
Gotcha.
Some of them I would spin at. He would have other DJs here and there mix it up. And so for the last one, it was jazz. And so he wanted to do something special. And he happened to interview this guy named Logan Mills Walters, who was a graphic designer, discovered his stuff online. And Logan had this series where he recreated Wu-Tang album covers.
What?
And
That's
he gave
dope.
him a jazz aesthetic to him.
Okay.
And he called the series Wu Note, off of like Blue Note.
Okay.
So it would be like a Blue Note aesthetic to a lot of the covers. So he did this for things like Enter the 36 Chambers, to Wu Forever, to, The Pillage, to like all these joints. And so he did it just on the humble. He was like, when Gerald interviewed him, he was just like, yeah, I actually just did this to have something cool in my iPod when I played these records.
All right.
That's dope.
And so in his interview, he kind of like, he thought, he's like, well, have you ever worked with anybody? Or he's like, I noticed you did an album cover for a mixtape project where someone mashed up Wu-Tang and the Beatles. He was like, yeah. He's like, I think he said he did that cover. And then Gerald was like, well, have you ever done something? Has anybody done maybe like Wu-Tang and jazz? He was like, well, no. He's like, but if somebody did, I'd be down to do the cover, know? So light bulb goes off. He hits me up. He's like, hey, for this last one, instead of just doing a jazz compilation, what do you think about the idea of somehow incorporating jazz and Wu-Tang? And I was like, man, I have no idea what that would be, but it sounds dope. I'm down. So 5 months later, I finished the project, and we called it Shaolin Jazz, the 37th Chamber. 37. Of course, Wu heads, you know that. If you don't, sorry, you have to do your research. But basically, the project was fusing as best as possible jazz originals and some breaks with lyrics from Wu-Tang and making it sound as seamless as possible. So my goal was really to make it sound like it sounds like they rapped over that jazz original.
That sounds amazing.
So
super dope.
That's where it all started from. And yeah, when it was done too, I was like, this is the best thing I've ever done.
I don't know. I feel like that was like a concept that was meant to go together, because for some reason, Wu-Tang and jazz just
sounds
seems
right.
synonymous.
And people have been like, really? Like that? I was like, yeah, well, listen to it and listen how lyrically too the delivery rides so well over.
It was very improvised.
Yeah, and some of the tracks, one of the tracks I feel like is kind of really is the epitome of what the project is a blend we have called House Sly, but basically it's How High Met the Man and Red Man over Ahmad Jamal's Poinciana. Wow. And when I think I was playing Ahmad Jamal's record, and I was in the kitchen, and then I instantly was like, let me try this acapella. Like something hit me. And the first time I did it, I was just like, this is eerie how it was. Like the key where the woman sings in the hook, fly, Robin, fly, it matched the key from the original.
Really?
And then even with like time-wise, when Redman comes in for his second verse, like you hear the drums kick up, step up a bit just for that part. And like everything was perfect. So that song right there just kind of really showed like it really sounds like their cadence and flow, everything sounds
just matched up
perfect for this, So
that's awesome, man.
So that's where it all started. Again, and we just like, hey, we got this mixtape, and since we've been doing events in the past, we were like naturally like, hey, let's do maybe a listening party. And we set up doing a listening party in DC and New York. And
New York.
Yeah, and New York was real. We were like, hopefully we get some heads in there. And what really just kind of kicked it off for us, someone from NPR's website happened to discover the track. We released, I think, one track, and OK Player, somebody put it out.
Oh yeah, and then they just ran with it.
And then so somebody from NPR hit us up, and they, I guess, wrote for their jazz section. And they were like, yo, I'm going to post something about this. So after that came out, 2 weeks later, we were in New York. And, I mean, spot was packed. Half the people were like, yo, I saw the NPR joint.
Yeah.
So I read it on NPR. I was like, thank you, NPR. So
you got to do a tiny desk, man.
Oh,
yeah, please. I was just about to ask that. Like, please, bro, you gotta do a tiny desk.
We have done a live. Later on, we eventually did do like a live performance of it with the live band.
Yeah.
So like from the from the listening parties, things just kind of like, it was just a gradual snowball organic effect. Again, we still had no intention to like, we're gonna make a company or brand out of this.
Yeah.
It was like, mixtape is dope. But let's still find ways to keep promoting this, give it more legs. A lot of people peeped it already, but let's keep more and more.
Yeah. I think that makes it even more genuine is the fact that it wasn't like a planned business to come out. It was like something natural that just kind of started up from
movement. And just to give you a quick, very, very quick, just kind of fast forward, it went from all right, mixtape to the listening parties to, hey, let's, at the listening party, maybe have some visual art since we worked with artists before. So my man, Ania Khan, actually did a whole series of pieces inspired by Shaolin Jazz.
Yeah.
To someone then invited us to come to Temple University to speak to a class about it.
Dope.
That led to us then creating a lecture series on the parallels between hip hop and jazz culture.
Has no one done like a Wu-Tang, like draw them as like feudal Japanese samurais and monks?
I would be down for that.
Interesting. Not necessarily that in particular, but one of the things we also did to, again, add legs to this was, and this was all Gerald's idea. I was a little skeptical at first, but he was like, why don't we do a graphic design competition? Maybe have somebody recreate the album cover. Now, the guy, Logan, that he interviewed a while back, eventually did do the cover for us for the mixtape. But I was like, all right, sure, why not? What are we going to offer them? And Gerald reached out to a few companies and brands, and they were willing to donate like some product, clothes, and here and there, some shirts or something. And so, we just put it out online. I forget where we kind of posted it on, but it was just a competition for anybody to recreate the album cover. And we always, our goals, we set them very modestly low.
Can't be disappointed.
So
no way you can be disappointed.
We're like, yo, real talk, we get like at least 4 submissions. We'll be good. So first week or two, 1 or 2 maybe came in, all right, By the end of the competition, and it was just like, yo, this is divine intervention, I guess. We had a total of exactly 37 submissions.
What? That's gangster. That's super gangster.
And on top of that was even more gangster. Not one single one of them was from the D.C., Maryland, Virginia area.
Really?
Wow. They were international. They were from Cali, New York.
Just coming out of nowhere.
Somebody from Romania did something. Somebody from Japan. Yeah. I mean, and the winner was this visual artist out of New York. Her name was Shimona Stokes.
Wow.
And hers was, it was hard. It was like, once it got to the last week, I mean, we had some really dope designs. And it really took us like 2 to 3 days back and forth. Like, nah, what about, And then, at the end of the day, it was like, how well did it fit the guidelines that we asked for? And hers had this jazz look to it.
Did you follow the rules?
She had 3 figures on there that kind of, small little illustrated figures, but they were clearly and they looked like Old Dirty, Meth, and RZA.
That's dope.
And she had some piano keys at the top. It wasn't until later on I counted. I was like, 37 keys. Wow. She just did it to a T. So
that's good art, right? Yeah,
did that. And then that fast forward, like, well, we got all these dope designs we're doing nothing with. I was like, I got hip to the site redbubble.com. I was like, yo, we can just upload these designs for free, sell shirts online, and we just get a cut of the product.
That works.
And we don't have to spend any money.
Yeah, that works.
So we have a line of Shaolin Jazz apparel now. So we got, shirts, tote bags.
I will be checking
all
that
that
out.
stuff.
And where would we get that Shaolin Jazz apparel?
ShaolinJazz.com, and go to our apparel tab, and it'll take you right to the store. And we have like over now 40 different designs and just different things you can get. But so all this stuff just kind of kept going to the lecture at Temple, which led to us developing this multimedia lecture presentation, which we have done at over 25 different colleges and universities.
So can I ask you this question? Because I kind of feel as if this is kind of a sidebar.
Yeah, it's all good. Yeah.
I feel as if hip hop usually incorporates music from a bunch of different cultures and genres and brings it all together.
Oh yes, very much so.
So how? Because when I hear other people like Ben Shapiro and other folks be like, "Oh, hip hop isn't music," like I don't even understand where they pull that from. You ain't never seen that?
I've never heard anybody.
Ben
say
Shapiro
that.
was like, "My daddy is a music teacher," and he told me that.
I've even heard people like, what was your boy? I think it's either. Both Winton and Branford have both said something negative. Well, no, Winton said the most. He said he called hip hop basically like black minstrel music or whatnot. Yeah, he gave it.
Wow,
and I'm thinking like your brother was in a group called Buckshot LaFunk.
You know what I'm saying?
Stuff with DJ Premier. And
right.
All right.
Really?
Yeah. Folks be putting hip hop down, man. Like, which is crazy because to me it's like if music was a light, you know what I'm saying, was like a color of a light, like hip hop would be white. Like it would be that thing that would hit the prism and break into a bunch of different genres. Like
no, that's legit.
That's how I feel about it.
And I get with anybody not knowing something about a culture like that, that's just human instinct. It's like if you don't understand it, chances are you're going to put it down, especially if you got a platform to give your opinion about it. So
that's true.
There's that, but most of those folks also don't really probably know enough about the music, enough about certain artists to define artists that they probably would appeal to them. So, somebody like Wynton Marsalis saying that might only be limited to what he's heard on like Hot 97.
Yeah.
Versus somebody be like, yo, have you heard Diggable Planet's Blowout Comb album?
Yeah.
There's a lot of jazz under that's one of my most favorite well-produced hip-hop albums.
CL Smooth and Pete Rock.
Listen to that.
You know what I'm saying?
Listen to that kind of stuff. Heck, go deep and like Dred Scott. You heard of that cat?
Oh man.
Listen to his vibes. And Dilla.
Dilla is my guy.
Dilla is genius.
So even Herbie Hancock was impressed by how Dilla flipped his joint on Get This Money.
Yeah.
That's true.
Genius.
So there's that. But there's always going to be somebody's going to kind of hate, look down to it. But we talked about that in our lectures. We're like, same way hip hop has gotten all this negative rap, jazz music. And so part of our presentations, we'll as much as possible show examples of both in different time periods, but show the similar results, reactions. So we look at things as dance moves and routines. We're showing video clips from like the Millers Brothers and all these other folks from the 1920s.
Right.
And then next to it, you see a screen of like a B-boy from the 80s and 90s, and they're doing the same moves.
Just a little bit differently, like with a different flair. It was just
classier back in the 20s, baby.
And it wasn't like the B-boys and B-girls back in the 70s were watching YouTube videos to see what they were doing. Right. So somehow that still, made its way to hip-hop.
Still translates through.
But same thing with criticisms and like media responses to the music. We would do something, a little exercise where we'll read a news clip and we'll ask like, what do you think this was written about, jazz or hip-hop? And we've read clips that said stuff like the music is devil music is turning all the young folks into thugs and the criminals, and they were talking about jazz music.
Yeah. I used to remember like the stipulation you would get from the jazz players in the movies is like they all smoke weed.
Yeah,
you know what I'm saying? Like, they all do drugs.
They love womanizing.
They're always womanizing.
And there honestly, there's some truth, but there were a lot of them that were, the reefer and drug references. That's heavy in jazz music too.
Yeah.
Hip hop is just more of a vocal art form than jazz.
I would agree with that.
You definitely have the vocal, component to jazz, but you have way more iconic instrumental jazz records than you do instrumental hip hop records. So
Miles Davis's and
Coltrane, speak of his records,
Yeah.
But, so there are definitely a lot of those parallels and the multimedia lecture we've done is really cool because we'll definitely pull as so many different examples, even looking at, we'll even look at what was the, legislation and the economic trends before and after jazz come around. And we note like, hey, you have the 13th Amendment to abolish slavery, and then you have some kind of backlash with the Reconstruction era, and then shortly around that period, you have like blues coming around, and then jazz takes off even more during the recession in the 30s and things like that. Yeah. Fast forward with hip hop, you got the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. Shortly after that, you have some kind of like backlash with the riots and the assassination of the king and all that, and then you have. Around hip hop started flourishing even more in the 80s during the crack era and that recession. Yeah. So it's almost like both forms of music were like escapism during some of the worst economic times in the U.S. Yeah.
It was like rebelling. So it's like, I look at jazz as, classical music just with a little more swag to it. You know what I mean? A little more soul.
And that's interesting that has even gotten to the point we say that. Like the fact that it's even now referred to as America's classical music. That was so far. That's like people saying now hip hop is America's classical music, and somebody being like,
they're saying hip hop is pop,
but they're saying that's what they were saying. That's the impression somebody would have had back in the 30s or 40s. If you were to say, jazz is America's classical music, be like, get the hell out of here.
Right?
Like, get out of here.
That jungle music, that noise, they're not even reading.
They don't even read music.
They don't even read the music.
Like they feel it right here.
And they're all criminals and stuff and doing drugs, and like that was the rap for jazz.
But I feel like that's what you need to advance anything. You need that subculture and the genre to move it along, because anybody can keep playing classical music, but who gonna play that note this?
I'm kind of curious. Like usually, how do I say this politically correct? So usually. Historically, most music is usually come from a certain set or culture of people.
Yes, it does. And oppressed and downtrodden, if you will.
I noticed that jazz did not fall under the same course that rock or hip hop did, in which it was kind of like
it did though.
It did. Tell me about that. Just curious.
Jazz is more so born out of like the brothals and stuff in like Louisiana, New Orleans. So jazz wasn't speakeasy. Duke Ellington was like later. That was the classy dude of that was almost like the Puffy of jazz.
Like I'm gonna take this Puff
with way more talent. Sorry, no disrespect to Puffy either.
Puff can dance.
Puff does nothing but whisper in the background.
But in a sense, they both like orchestrated and ran and managed a whole lot of things and brought this extra level for sophistication, if you will, to the look and everything.
Right. Bought it out front.
He wasn't the start either. So like, when you have people like Jelly Roll Morton and Louis Armstrong and folks like that, like they were raw. Like coming out of places they were playing at, like this wasn't refined in any sense. So like jazz in Carnegie Hall still didn't happen for like a couple decades until the music got accepted.
Right.
So it wasn't, and then even when you had some of your artists because of skin tone who could play in the nicer places and they play in places like New York or Chicago, best believe when that show's over, they're running down the street to the hood and going to the jazz clubs because they know that's where the talent is. So like jazz was, in the sense, jazz was hood to begin with. It was the hood street dudes that came up with jazz. I mean, we think of even blues artists like Lead Belly is notable, but he got his name because he was shot in the belly.
Did jazz ever go through like a period of being like, how, like I wouldn't say like rap is getting softer, but I would say like rap is becoming
Kenny G.
Yeah, okay.
That's your Drake. That's your Drake.
Yeah. That's your Drake. That's the Drake of jazz?
That's your Drake of jazz.
Yeah. That kind of makes sense.
And he's one of the top selling jazz artists of all time.
He is the Eminem of jazz.
Yes.
Kenny G Jewish?
I don't know.
Who knows?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know why I always thought he was Jewish for some reason.
He could be. I don't know.
So I always like made the presumption because of how he looks. Like he looks ethnic to me.
Because he got the hair.
The
hair a little too wavy.
The nose, everything about him was just different. Like he was my guy. You know what I'm saying? Like I always gravitated towards Kenny G as far as like jazz music for some reason when I was younger.
Well, because he was the most popular.
And he does it in a very easily digestible, way. Like it doesn't ruffle any feathers. Yeah, it's like the Drake. It's literally like the Drake.
And it's no diss to Drake necessarily, but it's like that's the lane. You know, that was his lane. Yeah. Just like Drake is one of the top selling rap artists of all time.
Nobody can tell me that Drake is not the best selling recording artist.
You use the right words. You use the right words. Recording artist.
Yeah.
Artiste. Well, let me ask you this, because
it's hard. I can't give him that.
He's too consistent. Like
very consistent.
He pays for consistency.
But I'll still put Jay over him for right now.
All day.
Because Jay spans more decades.
Yeah.
True. And if you wanted, I mean, I'll leave it at that.
Drake still kind of new in the.
And if you're just the category of selling records, then I'll leave out LL. But if you talk about like greatest of all time, I got to put LL in the conversation.
Really?
Because of longevity. And longevity of relevance. Think about the last in the 2000s.
He's still coming out with hits. Yeah. He still got hits in the club.
And he had hits in the club in the 80s.
Yeah.
And they have replay value from everything he did in the 80s.
You can still play doing it right now, and people are gonna dance to it. Yeah, you know what I'm saying?
And LL in his first, when he first came, brother was getting it.
Yeah.
Brother was getting it.
Yeah.
And he can say this label, which is one of the most monumental labels in hip hop. In music,
that's true.
I kind of put that on my back for a little bit.
True. Def
Jam would not be Def Jam without
facts.
Yeah.
He's basically the mascot. Wasn't he the mascot?
He was the mascot.
He still got other heavyweights. Don't get me now. You know,
wasn't Bruno Mars part of it? Is Bruno Mars part of it?
What? Def Jam?
Def Jam?
I don't think so.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm thinking more of
in the past?
Slick Rick,
Beastie Boys,
Raucous Records,
Beastie Boys, all that. They had heavyweights.
Dang.
And it only got bigger from there. 80s, 90s.
Yeah, I remember he was
did make it.
Pretty much the mascot.
But he was a man. He was the man. Yeah, he was killing. But all that said, going back to jazz, it definitely has, and we looked at, we really broke down the culture a little bit to where it definitely has these parallels that that hip hop shares with it in a sense. So in terms of again, what its early origins, and we even talk about what we call I kind of created this in the presentation. I say that both jazz and rap had contemporary catalysts that kind of came together to then kind of set it up. So when I say contemporary catalysts at the time, for jazz, you had foundation in the blues.
Yes.
But what was popping back then was music that people would cakewalk to and minstrel kind of stuff.
Yeah, cakewalk.
Ragtime. I'm sorry, ragtime.
I was about to say swing
ragtime.
I was going to say, I say cakewalk all the time and no one ever understands what I'm talking about.
Which was a dance that people did to make fun of the slave owners and all that stuff. Yeah, so it was a mocking dance that became the popular dance. But ragtime was popping back in the late 1800s, early 1900s.
Yeah.
And then it kind of gave way with blues kind of gave way to jazz in a sense. The combination of those elements gave way to jazz. Now here's the thing. After jazz came in, ragtime was done.
Ragtime died, yeah.
Now fast forward to hip hop. Hip hop, you have foundation and West Indian roots with the heavy bass and stuff like that, because the godfathers of hip hop were all the top three we talk about mostly, Bambaataa, Kool Herc, and Flash.
Yeah,
all have West Indian roots, all DJs.
That's true.
So that heavy sound system, the bass, the big speakers, all that, toasting, engaging your crowd, call and response that the MCs did. Yeah. So your foundation, but what was hot on the radio? Disco.
Yeah.
Now here's this, and this is the reason why I bring up disco. What was it? What was the first big hit rap record? Party record.
Oh, I would.
Hip hop.
Hip hop.
Rapper's Delight.
Yeah, Rapper's Delight. Yeah.
What was that? That was a disco record.
It was a disco record.
And they flipped it.
So same thing in ragtime was a sound that was already popular. Jazz is a derivative sonically of ragtime. It sounds very similar.
Yeah.
And then hip hop. First hip hop records sonically sounded like disco records. So rapping over it.
We're never going to rap over disco.
After rap came out, after rap established itself, what happened to disco?
It died.
Just like ragtime.
So let me ask you about this. Let me ask you about the occurrence of lo-fi hip hop. Where is it gonna go, and what is gonna die after it gets really big?
I don't think it's gonna die though. So those are two those are the two few, if only, that I can name.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely challenge anybody. And hey, if you think of something else I didn't think of, cool, or we didn't think of. But those are the only two forms of American popular music. No. Only two forms of American popular music that were big too, somewhat nationally.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And then within a span of only 20, 30 years, they came and went, and then they never came back. Rap has stood the test of time just like jazz has, just like rock, just like funk, soul, country, western, like all of that still exists. All of those genres still exist. Nobody is like, we got a ragtime subgenre that we're bringing back, or we got disco.
Yeah, we're bringing back this swing dancing,
electronic kind of, but that's still not ragtime.
It's still not. Yeah,
it's still jazz. It's still more in the jazz canon.
I feel like those genres have that staying power because they're so mutable. Like they can transform into whatever they need to be.
It's almost like these other forms, like ragtime, is almost like a style of jazz, but it just happened before it.
Right.
Disco, a little different because it wasn't people rapping over it
at
first, but that was almost kind of like disco was pre-house.
Yeah,
in a sense.
House music,
House music basically is like hip hop and hip hop and
like
disco almost.
Like a hip hop techno disco thing.
So it's kind of like that's what we evolved disco to be later on. But under hip hop,
right?
In a sense,
right.
Like
hip hop's like
cool. So I don't really see hip hop or even the lo-fi. I don't see that stuff dying out because it's. I mean,
it's jazz.
Lo-fi is pretty much just real soft jazz. Super soft, kind of like jazz with a beat, I think.
Yeah, and I don't think that's going like. No. I mean, for that to go out is like for somebody to be like, I think I'm done ever listening to like Tribe or Jake Dilla beats.
Oh yeah, that's true. Yeah,
that's all that shit is just classic.
Yeah.
Like
they're in that category.
It's
lo-fi
automatically classic.
So wait, who else will fall? Because I'm bringing up lo-fi specifically for New Jabez. New Jabez, as far as like a musical inspiration in anime, just great. Like I'll never forget seeing Samurai Champloo.
Yes, yeah.
And it blew my mind. It made the show watching it for me. Like the music set the tone.
The intro alone, I was like, I'm into this.
Yeah.
Intro alone.
that
sucked me in. You know what I'm saying?
That alone, I haven't even watched an episode yet. And I was like,
just like this
I love it.
They got,
I love this show.
Hip hop on there. Start with Catch Ramen from Japan.
Mm-hmm.
And and I got hip. I watched clips of it, but then what really hit me in terms of the musical, like how big of a part the music was when I found, I think I told you, I found back when they still had DJ Hut over on P Street, I found vinyl, like on wax, they had the soundtrack to the series.
That's
so it was like
dope.
all the beats.
Whoa.
So New Jabez to Force of Nature, Fat John.
Seriously?
Yeah, that's
I love
dope.
Fat John. I still listen to
So
him.
it's like I don't think it was most of it, but it's like a double album of just instrumentals.
That's crazy.
From the,
I would buy that.
Yeah, as soon as I saw it, I was like, and I started listening to it, I was like, oh, yeah.
You could do a lot of stuff with that.
I can go back and watch the show now. I
would definitely go back and watch the show.
Another show that I love the music, Cowboy Bebop.
Yeah.
Cowboy Bebop.
So would that be like swing time jazz?
Cowboy Bebop was definitely jazz, but they added different types of music throughout the show sometimes.
True.
Like it was usually a form of jazz, but it would be like a range from different people. I think sometimes there was some metal in there, some rock.
Yeah, they would mix it up a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
I do remember them mixing up a little bit.
Yeah, but that one had some good music.
Some amazing music.
That's not hip hop. I was like, oh.
I was listening to it like, this is some of the best music I ever heard. Like, well, let me ask you this. Because you're very knowledgeable about music. Much more knowledgeable about it than me.
I may know a few things. I may not know a lot of things.
I don't know, man. You seem like you know it, man. But
I'm just ahead, man. I love the culture.
Is there anybody that's... And I guess as far as production-wise, rapping-wise, hip-hop in general, whatever, is there anybody out there that's new music-wise that you would co-sign on and say, like, this person is the truth, like, this is the future of their genre? You know what I'm saying? Like, just anybody you ran across this year, was there anybody that you was listening to and was just like, yo, Roddy Ricch is...
Roddy Ricch is all right, man. I like Roddy Ricch.
I love that.
Yeah, I'm bad with radio stuff nowadays, man. I'm like one of the worst DJs because I never listen to radio. I got to be told.
Like, what are you listening to? I mean, you're not missing anything.
I mean, it doesn't have to be this year. Like, I'd be happy just to hear your opinion and see where it goes.
So, it's a little hard for me to answer that for right now because I would say. I mean, yeah, it's hard because I've definitely been limiting myself in terms of what I've been listening to.
I mean, we all do.
Yeah, and I so I'm still listening to, let's say, cats that were coming out back when I was in high school and college, and they still put music out. Like right now, to me, I still like Nobody Can Touch Pete Rock.
I love Pete Rock.
Pete Rock on the low has been still like consistently killing it, but like people just. I mean, a number of projects since 2000. Yeah, Pete Rock has had an incredible body work that people kind of slept on.
Smooth fell off. I thought they were always going to be like.
Nah, they had a little bit. They came back together at least to tour. They've been touring and stuff. They just haven't really been making.
They made some good stuff.
So they still good. They just not,
But Pete on the production level has been
killing it.
Yeah,
so I've heard a few things.
Like I would always welcome a time for somebody to be like, well. I'll be like, give me 15, 20 minutes of your time. I'm going to play you all Pete joints, and you cannot deny it.
It's going to be fire?
And everything I'm going to play will be like since 2005.
For real?
Everything. And
he does a lot
he
of
just did a whole project
stuff.
with Sky Zoo, which is really
I love that guy.
And that project, the beats on there are pretty thorough. He did a whole project with Smoke DZA, which is thorough.
Yes.
Very thorough.
You guys know everybody.
He did a whole EP with Smoke DZA and Benny the Butcher.
Benny the Butcher?
What have I been doing?
He
we're
did
not
a whole
doing
project
enough, man.
Years ago, he did a whole project with Camp Lo.
I love Camp Lo.
Years before that, he did a whole project with Smith & Wesson. Years before that, he did a whole project with Ed O.G.
Camp Lo are my guys, man.
And that's not even including his solo project, his beach projects, like other stuff he's been doing.
The beat project.
He's released a couple beat projects, but even just like random beats he's getting the cash for other like his beat and his. When you listen to Sky Zoo album, I'm gonna go to the track called Eastern Conference All Stars. It's Sky Zoo, Benny the Butcher, Conway, Westside Gunn, and Elzai. And the beat is majestic.
I gotta watch it. I gotta watch it.
Yeah.
So but that's somebody who's still doing it. In terms of somebody who's kind of like I do have a guilty pleasure for Griselda.
Griselda?
I do have a
Those
guilty
beats
pleasure.
are amazing. I don't even care what he says. He can say
they're
he
very
says
limited in what they talk. Very extreme limited.
You know who?
My plugs.
You know who lyrically has been killing it for me? Royce the 5'9".
Oh, always. He's never.
Allegory is.
He never missed a beat.
Never missed a beat. Just real solid rapping all the way through. Just solidly rapping.
And that's why it's hard for me to pick somebody new or young. I mean, I will say. Now, okay, if I'm trying to think a little more about now, one artist who I think she hasn't gotten enough credit yet, and I think she's going to bubble some more.
Iman?
Now I was actually going to say Lakali 47.
Never heard of her.
She's really dope. She's really dope. So she gives you a vibe too of Missy a little bit.
Whoa!
I'll take that.
But better rapper.
I'll enjoy that. Actually,
definitely better rapper, and she can sing. She did a Tiny Desk. Look up her Tiny Desk concert. It is very, very, very good. Soulful.
I need to just.
So she got, I think, big on the Issa Rae show, Insecure.
Oh, she played a track of hers or something?
Oh, well,
there's a couple of tracks on the soundtrack.
Oh, the soundtrack? Have you listened to the Insecure soundtrack?
Yo, it's pretty good.
I love it.
Yeah, so she's on there. And then she even did. She has a guest feature on Rhapsody's last album too.
Dang.
They did a video for it too. But Lakali, she always wears like a mask or bandana over her face all the time.
Really?
So you never see her face. You just see cutouts of her eyes.
With that being said,
and she's dope. She's
my
really dope.
guilty pleasure is Doom. I love MF Doom.
Oh, that's not a guilty pleasure.
Oh yeah, man.
Because I feel like. In all of my friends, I'm the only person that listens to MF Doom faithfully.
Man, come on, yeah.
I listen to MF Doom faithfully, but MF Doom is the worst guy to go to a concert for.
I mean,
oh man, I love the stories.
Stories are better than the concert.
I got some good stories because I used to work for this label, Shaman Work Recordings.
Oh man,
and Shaman Work used to release his some of his special herbs.
Oh, special herbs
releases, and so the dude who used to run it for a short span of time used to be Doom's manager down in Atlanta. The cat I went to college with.
His double.
No. And then one of the other guys for the label, my man John Robinson, used to go by Lil Si from Science of Life.
Okay.
Group from back in the day. Actually one of the first groups Bobito released on record. It was Science of Life back in the day. But John was president for the label, so he also worked in the label, but he also used to sometimes do shows with Doom. And so he even told me a few stories.
Doom just wow.
The imposter thing is just the greatest.
Yo.
I thought it was actually magnificent
That's
to add to
genius.
the evil genius.
Of Dr. Doom, because Dr. Doom used to do that all the time. If anybody
Like
read
that
the comic
wasn't
books,
actually me.
Dr. Doom was the king of sending clones to do stuff all the time.
Doom
Anytime
is
they beat Doom,
literally
it was a
the
robot.
man's
You know what I'm saying?
So they, John definitely confirmed. He's like, oh yeah, man, he would do that sometimes. He's like, and he would do it sometimes. I wouldn't even know until I got the stage.
I'm about to say, like,
he would call me. He's like,
people
yo,
know before.
He's like, yo, man, I'm in Atlanta, right? He's like, oh, you ain't here? And he's like, oh man, he's like, yeah. So just follow along with it.
And the show be in New York, you're like, oh, I'm in Atlanta.
I think one show got exposed because like they cut the audio or something, and it was they could tell easily it wasn't him.
Yeah, like he just wasn't even.
There's another one in Europe years ago, and I mean, I guess anybody who knew about his situation years ago, like he couldn't travel outside the U.S.
Oh,
that's the reason why he never really toured heavy,
right?
Because everybody's like, oh, he'd be making a killing.
He would be making a killing.
Because
he was count on this guy.
He was getting to the point he was making like at his peak of like the underground, like back when it was like Mad Villain and then the Danger Doom stuff.
Yeah.
He was pulling in some shows 5 figures.
What?
He got that much on a couple of shows.
Yeah.
And he would have made that easily if he would have toured.
If he would have actually showed up.
But he couldn't leave the country.
Couldn't do it.
He would not have been able to get back in the country.
That's tight.
So it was just, but there was a picture of somebody who like before it was a Doom show somewhere in Europe, and they had I remember there was a picture of him. Even with the mask on, it was like, that is clearly not
Doom.
Like he must
That's
have
not
lost
his jaw
80
or
pounds.
anything. Yeah.
But you can see the guy's face behind it with glasses on. It just,
glasses.
Glasses on. You can't even take your glasses off, Phil.
Doom, even though he wears like glasses, he would take his glasses off when
he put on the mask. Yeah,
man, I love Doom, man. That's my guy, man. He was all over the place.
One of the most creative or influential things that I've ever seen you do was the Can I Kick It event.
Yeah, man.
Which I've seen on social media.
Yeah.
Which is like, it's a great homage to hip hop and movie and kung fu flicks. And for those who don't know, I barely know either.
Hey, you got
pretty much from what I've heard. You know what I'm saying? Like
from what I've heard too.
Y'all got to come.
You play a movie and then you DJ real time to the movie.
What?
Making music that coincides with whatever the movie is doing.
And you still follow all the dialogue.
And it still follows all the dialogue,
so
all the fight scenes.
I'm not playing on top of the like I'm not overshadowing the dialogue. Like you still hear all the dialogue.
You still hear everything is
like
straight
a
through.
New soundtrack.
Basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it is the hardest thing. Like, I've seen just like a snippet of it because you can't do it live for Facebook reasons.
Yeah. And I mean, other reasons to, we're still figuring out, we get asked all the time, like, do you have a copy of it somewhere?
Nah. You guys got it because that is like the most hip hop thing that I have ever seen because it's live. You know what I'm saying? It's something that you can't get from anywhere else.
Nope.
And it's something that you can only get in person. And I think that's the dopest part.
I got one homie in New York who has the only bootleg copy of one of our soundtracks. And that was to Black Panther. But even the way he shared with me, he's like, I played it for some of the other homies, and he's like, but the way I would have to do it is he had to get used to press and play on the DVD and then knowing exactly when to press play on the audio to sync it up, because all he has is the audio, but he doesn't have the video. So figuring out how to do that and then cutting the TV audio off and then letting my audio ride because I had all the movie dialogue and everything. But So, but we're not even worried about that right now. Yeah, we're good with like, you gotta come. You gotta come.
Like, I want to come. Like, I think it's a great date idea. What was the location again?
So we move around. So we started. We do a monthly series at Songbird Music House.
At Songbird Music House.
So that's really our that's like our dojo with this. Is like that's what
practice.
We do some of the more obscure films we feel like doing, random titles.
Sounds like a perfect date night.
And we get a lot of couples, we get a lot of one-offs, all that, So we get, last month we did The Black Dragon's Revenge starring Ron Van Cleef. It came out in the 70s. I had never seen it until recently. very bootleg, low budget, but it was funny as I don't know what.
C movies.
And people loved it. So like that's the cool thing is it doesn't matter the quality of the film, whether it was a really good film or really bad, like all of them work.
It's all art by the end of the day. Yeah.
As long as they move and have like enough action and movement, like it works for us.
What is your process for deciding on these shows? And can I make a recommendation?
We always up for suggestions. It's basically just me and my partner Gerald. We'll kind of look at for Songbird, we always do new titles that we haven't done. Mm-hmm. So actually, it doesn't seem like it's. But to date, we've screened over 75 different titles.
Goodness.
Yeah.
Damn, man. Y'all working.
Because we've been doing this since like 2013 or so when we first started doing it and doing it monthly. And it's grown to, not only do we do the monthly series at Songbird, but we also for the past 3 summers have curated an outdoor series downtown at Freedom Plaza on a big screen.
Really?
We'll be back this summer too.
Yeah.
So it'll be 6 weeks in a row, every Tuesday for 6 weeks, Freedom Plaza, big screen. Last year we did all Marvel films. So we did Black Panther, Spider-Man, and
you guys did the same thing with those movies?
I scored all of them.
Oh!
Yeah. We did Avengers Infinity War. That's the longest one I've ever scored.
Got tired.
So, okay.
It's a long movie, man.
So I got like a long list. I don't know if this is like a yes or no thing. I don't know how we're going to do this.
It'll probably have to be for next year because we already figured out the films on this.
Hey, man, as long as you tell me it's a possibility, I would be excited just for that.
And I'll be texting you. Here,
all right.
So my first one, I don't know if you guys remember this. You guys remember Samurai X?
Yeah. I remember the name,
Yeah, Samurai X, Love and Betrayal. Mm-hmm. It's the thing where Kenichi gets the scar. Yeah.
Because we definitely want to do more martial arts.
That one is beautiful, super long, super old, so you should be able to easily find it.
Super long, you're not convincing me.
I know, right? Come on, man.
I'm keeping it 100, man.
Well, that's fine.
I think it's like an hour. It's like an hour and 45 minutes.
That's fine. No, we've done like a lot of films at 2 hours. And,
okay.
It's fine, yeah. So
that's a long set.
The Gundam Wing Endless Waltz.
Endless Waltz is beautiful.
Wow.
Right?
That's a beautiful.
I'm just imagining your score going under the Gundam theme song, like and just seeing what you would do with that. Like you would probably
flip that.
That would be awesome.
That was beautiful.
Yeah. Have you guys ever heard? This isn't an anime. Have you guys ever? It's on Netflix right now. Hardcore Henry.
Yes.
Is that the first person?
But I remember, it was the first person kind of film.
It's the first person movie where he's going around, he's like shooting people.
Yeah,
and
tripping
hard. That would be because it's an action movie, you know what I'm saying? There's a ton of violence.
Oh, yeah.
There's a ton of funny stuff in it. Like, y'all would kill Hardcore Henry. And
I mean, that could definitely work.
What else? You got some? I got more, but
I don't have any.
Okay. Have you done Ninja Scroll?
Yes, we have.
Okay. I got more.
Classic. Yeah. We've done a few classics in anime.
Hajime no Ippo's champion run. I know he has a movie where he just like it's just like Ippo and it's like one champion dude. It's they still go through the same route of like training and then leading up to the fight and then the fight to itself. But have you ever heard of Hajime no Ippo?
I have, but we haven't done. Yeah.
That would be a fire one, and of course the Cowboy Bebop movie.
We've actually really considered that one.
Yeah. That would be super dope.
I'm a fan of the series, so it's a dope series.
Yeah, Cowboy Bebop.
So I think we were almost about to do that one either this year or last year, and then we kind of changed. I think last minute we were like Fist of the North Star.
I mean,
have you guys done any of the Dragon Ball Z?
Oh my God! I didn't think of none of the Dragon Ball Z.
Yeah.
World's Strongest. You guys could do World's Strongest.
Yeah. I gotta go back and we were considering
Revenge of
episodes. So 2 years ago, we actually did. Only time we've ever done this, we did Samurai Champloo, but we did the first 4 episodes.
That's dope.
In place of doing a whole movie. So we did that, and then when we were talking about that, we were also considering Dragon Ball Z. But I was like, man, I mean, I used to enjoy watching those, but then I always remember
the
I was
fight
like,
scenes and everything be taking forever.
it would take like 15 minutes before they crack a punch.
You know
I was
what I'm
like,
saying?
no, we ain't got time for
we
that.
can't do
I feel
that.
like the movies were different, though. I feel like the movies got to the point.
I got to go back and watch the movie. And we're talking about the animated
depends.
version. Not the,
If you talking
Not
about the movies,
we might do the
before
live action
Super
ones
Saiyan,
just as a joke. But, you know.
Hey, you might make it better.
And yeah, no, it would be. We've done films that are poorly written, poorly acted, and we get the best response from them.
Okay, so now you got to
think
do
that's even
Avatar.
What, the live action one?
Yeah.
That's so bad.
Yeah, it was bad.
Nah, it's so we're too bad. We won't do that.
man, yeah, don't do that, man. Don't do
That
that.
might be too
I
bad.
don't
But
know.
we
I
are,
feel like the Dragon Ball one is way
we
too
have
bad.
considered Street Fighter, the film.
The Street Fighter, the old Street Fighter movie with
corny
John
one.
Claude Van Damme in it.
Which
The corny.
and which only
corny
one of the reasons why that movie indirectly holds a special place in my heart is not the movie itself, but random hip hop thing. If you didn't know, one of the most slept on hip hop soundtracks of all time is the Street Fighter soundtrack.
I agree.
Now
I
you know
agree.
okay, so if you never heard it,
I'm not hip.
Listen to this. Listen to the track, folks who are on the soundtrack: Nas, LL Cool J, Craig Mack, Raz Kass, Sophia,
Raz Kass. Wow.
Ahmad, Chuck D, The Bums, to who else? The Bums, their first song I ever heard from them
Straight
was
New
on
York
that.
on there.
Farside had the single.
Wow. Love Farside.
Who else? There's a couple other people. And then there were a few really bad tracks on there. There was a Deion Sanders
Oh, God.
MC Hammer track or something like that. It was really bad.
That sounds typical.
Yeah.
But I mean, everything else, though, was like, all those names, it was crazy. Somebody and
That's actually,
on to
I
it.
never knew that.
And you don't hear it in the movie though. You don't hear any of those songs in the
Are
movie.
you serious?
Really? So
That's
you just got
why.
to find the soundtrack
gotta
for
The
it.
soundtrack is
interested.
completely different from the movie
You
itself.
got to just be
I love
interested
those.
in the music.
Like Scary Movie. Did you guys remember the movie Scary Movie? The soundtrack was amazing. Like,
That's
yes.
some good stuff on,
Really?
Yes.
Random movies where the soundtrack on the low.
We're fired. Like,
I'm
I've
not
gone.
surprised. That was the Wayans brothers. And,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah, I get that. Yeah, they were hip hop heads. They were
They
heads,
were big
too.
hip hop heads, so
They're
they kind of made
definitely
it.
heads.
Yeah, they had a lot of people on there. Eminem was on there. They had a lot of people on there. Yeah, they had a whole
You guys
song
about
called
to
Scary
make me
Movie.
just go home.
But Street
and be
Fighter,
like-
check out the Street Fighter soundtrack.
Yeah.
It's pretty ill.
I'm definitely gonna look
So
into that.
what made people buy the soundtrack if none of the songs are on the?
Well, it was a different time. I'll say this, different time because in the 90s, definitely mid 90s, soundtracks were like popping.
Yeah,
And
you
the
never
best-
did
yeah.
that?
I'll say like the only people who've really done something recently to try to like, I wouldn't say bring it back. I'll say the best recent
Black
attempts.
Panther?
Black Panthers, hands down the best.
Yeah.
And American Gangster.
And American
American
Gangster.
Gangster.
Those
Yes.
are probably like some of the top two.
I forget that was for the movie.
But
Yes.
but it's nothing like back in the 90s. There'd be at least 3-4 soundtracks that came out. You had like
Y'all remember that Space Jam soundtrack?
and there was some
Space
stuff on there
Jam?
too.
Yeah, Space Jam.
But you still also had stuff like Above the Rim, Menace to Society, New Jack City, Crooklyn, to
Crooklyn, yeah.
High School High, to Light It Up, to like all these
That's
joints
true.
had like classics.
Now I
Soul
gotta go
Food,
listen to these soundtracks.
Yeah.
Back in the like 90s, soundtracks were a thing you look for. Like,
Wow.
and they were sometimes it would have no relation to the movie whatsoever. House Party, I mean those
The
soundtracks.
Lion King had a good sound.
The Lion King soundtrack was okay.
Movies.
But yeah,
It was okay.
yeah.
I'll admit that it's fantastic. I just didn't like the
And
movie.
Men in Black actually had a good one.
Men in Black.
De La's track on there,
Yes.
Tribe
Black
track,
did
and
have
the
a
Roots.
good soundtrack.
They
They had a
some
different
great
version of
people on
Hypnotic
there.
with D'Angelo.
And
Yeah.
the whole
And Nas
Will
was on there
Smith.
too. Yeah.
Dog.
Smith
like,
song, the
dude,
title
like-
track.
Soundtracks used to be
Man,
awesome.
Wow.
those were
I
classics.
used to get
Sometimes
my white
classics.
friends the soundtrack of Twister. You guys don't remember the movie Twister?
I remember the movie.
Yeah, you get on the soundtrack. It's got all the rock bangers for them. They can just rock out to that, man.
Oh my gosh.
You ain't never done that? It's just like, man, I know you, man. I got a soundtrack
Yeah.
for you, bro.
That even went into like the early 2000s because you had Nutty Professor,
Nutty Professor
Blue
had
Streak,
one, yeah.
stuff like that.
Wow,
Into
Blue
Deep.
Streak.
I guess I wasn't paying
Brown
attention
Sugar.
enough, man.
Man, I'm going to search
I
the
gotta
heck
go
out of
back.
my title as soon as we
Yeah.
get out of here, man.
Yeah,
Like,
man.
Got to
Hip hop
now.
soundtracks was a thing.
Wow.
How do you prepare? How do you prepare for these events? Like, do you guys take a movie, watch it 3 times, and like imagine how you're gonna make it vicious?
So I'll say up to this point is definitely I've kind of gotten to somewhat of a formula. It's not cut and dry, but I definitely kind of gotten used to how to play music or the approach with different scenes. But it always starts with definitely like watching the movie. Even if I've seen it before, it's like if I haven't seen it in a while, let me watch it again so I can vividly remember it at any moment, like any scene if I need to. And then from there, I just kind of like start pulling music aside that I feel like fits the vibe. I might not even really think. Sometimes I might see a scene and be like, oh, I know exactly what I'm playing here. That doesn't happen most of the time. Sometimes
it happens where you look at it and you're just like, oh, I got it right here. Like, I know exactly what this is.
Or I have an idea what I might do, or maybe it's because what we also do too is like I'm definitely big. I'm big on comedy. There's a lot of comedy in this when we do it. So we have not only music, but sometimes there's a little drops, like probably like the crowd pleaser when we do this is when the main character dies. I got Primo, rest in peace. So that's something people look forward to, especially if this film. There's a lot of main characters and they all die one by
like a Game of Thrones episode.
Rest in peace. So people love that's one of our favorites. So, but there's other little drops and stuff like that too. And then having fun with like I might even pull a 80s theme song from a sitcom, or I might pull something from Mario Brothers. Like for example, I give you an example of a scene where you can picture this. We did The Matrix a couple years ago outdoors, Freedom Plaza, and the scene where they just finished visiting the Oracle. Yeah. Then they start getting raided by the agents, and they're hiding in the walls.
Where he has this moment where he breaks the wall.
Before they're doing that, when they're climbing down the walls, I'm playing the underworld music from Mario Brothers. Because it had all the pipes and stuff.
Yeah.
So as soon as I played it, like half the crowd got it. They're
that's
like,
crazy. It actually looks like the underground tunnel.
Yeah, all the pipes and all. But little things like I'll purposely do that to get a laugh. Kind of, just reinterpret the scene.
Wow.
But it's just kind of like going, it's really just after a while, I pull a bunch of music and just go scene by scene. And a lot, some of it is trial and error. You just try stuff, see if it works with the vibe, get used to. And what we, one of the biggest compliments that we get sometimes, or at least from a technical standpoint, when some people come up and be like, yo, so how do you take the music out of the movie? Yeah. And I'm like, we don't.
We didn't.
I'll weave it around and I make you believe it's not there anymore.
That's so gangster.
I just need you to know that this is genius.
Oh yeah. I
mean, we've now the Songbird again. That's just our dojo. We've last 2 years is when it's really kind of taken off. We probably one of our biggest shows to date was 2 years. Geez, almost 2 years now. I'm sorry, not this past December, but December before that. We did a screening at the Kennedy Center.
Wow.
Dope.
And we did a screening of The Warriors.
Dope. That's super dope.
And it was sold out crowd.
You big time.
And that was
real talk, man.
So we've done that. Last year we finally started taking it on the road. So we went places like we did 2 outdoor screenings in New York, Hudson River Park in Manhattan.
Wow.
We did one at the New York Asian Film Festival. We did one in downtown Vancouver, Milwaukee, North Carolina.
Is crazy. Like, I'm excited to go.
Trust me, it's a lot of... And for folks that know movies, know music, like, y'all the kind of folks that would eat this up.
I would love to.
You get it. And it has, after a while, it has less to do with the title. The title helps. But you just, if it's titled, you kind of like, oh man, I wonder what they're going to do to this one. If it's something you've never seen, like, I'm just curious to see what this is.
What's about to happen.
Would it be possible, like, if I was to, get like a herd of nerds together, you know what I'm saying? Like, if I was to get like 40, if I was to get like the DC anime club.
Yo, please.
And just be like, would there be any way we can work out like an anime event music thing for them that we can work out?
Yeah. We actually, like I said, we do an anime joint at least once a year. Yeah. We're actually, I can't give any official details.
Okay.
We're still in the talks, but we may be possibly doing something around Awesome Con weekend.
Oh, that's dope. Possibly. Yes. We're definitely going to be around there. Yeah.
So we're working it out.
Mace.
Yeah, but I'll definitely share
If not, have you ever heard of BlerdCon?
Yes, definitely familiar with BlerdCon.
You would kill at BlerdCon. Like, so you guys would murder BlerdCon.
We're still trying to figure out how to make that work. Yeah.
What's it called? Well, yeah. We'll know. We'll if there's a way.
It will be. It'll happen.
No,
it's going to happen.
You know what I'm saying?
I know it's going to happen.
The universe will provide a way if one will.
I know it's going to happen at some point.
It's going to happen.
We've definitely talked about it and want to get into that scene even more.
Well, man, it's been a pleasure having you. Before you go, I just want to know, just so folks know, where else can we get any extra information about you, your information, just all that. Just give me the spiel right now.
ShaolinJazz.com website. Also is our social media. So if it's at Shaolin Jazz on Instagram, Twitter, we're constantly posting, new content all the time, whether it's our events or even just random content about jazz or hip hop. So,
yo, man, I appreciate you for coming, man.
Thank you, man. Thanks for having me, man.
Hey, this is Coldplay Media, and we are out of here.
Deuces.
Yep.
You've been listening to CoPlay Media with hosts Diers and Demo. For more information on CoPlay Media and the Blerd community, visit coplaymedia.com or the CoPlay Media page at dc.radio.gov.